What's going on, everybody? We're here. Me and Lynn, my co-founder of Midlands Military Home Hub. We are the brains, and blood behind what it is we're trying to build here. And luckily for y'all, she is a realtor with specific training to help with VA buyers. So, what better person to partner with? And Lynn, again, I want to say publicly in front of everybody that I spoke to so many real estate professionals, so many, whether they're realtors or real estate agents, and nobody was like, let's go. How do we do this? But you. So I thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. Lynne Fiscelli.
Thank you, Shaka. It's an honor to partner with you and work side by side building this home hub. It's definitely a passion that we both have, and I appreciate your insight and your help. And I think we've made a great partnership. So I'm honored to get it really going and see how many people we can help through the Midlands Military Home Hub.
And you know what? I'm gonna say this at the beginning of the video so we can get some momentum going because this is new and it's definitely I'll call it unorthodox because the military has their own sponsorship programs and they have their own programs on the installations and whatnot. But never, to my knowledge, has there ever been a realtor and a retired veteran team up to make basically a centralized location for all things you need to know or the services you need for a home buyer. I just don't know of one if it does exist. So if that sounds like something that sounds amazing to you, please share the videos, not just this one, but all the ones we come out with. But without further ado, today we're going to be talking to Lynn about home stuff, buying home buyer stuff. So, um, I guess my first question, and I'll just put this out there right now. So, what's really happening in the real estate market right now here in the Midlands, specifically around Shaw and Fort Jackson area?
Okay. Well, we have a lot of houses on the market, a lot, as in over 600 in the Kershaw County area, and a lot more in the Richland County area. However,
600.
um, yep. However, we are now officially in the season of people buying and selling houses, and multiple offers are happening again. It's I live in a house of real estate agents, and both my daughter and my son have worked all week with buyers up against multiple offers. So getting someone that, especially the VA loan, getting someone that understands the VA loan and can navigate through all the pieces to get you the winning offer is really, really important right now. And you cannot think about, do I want this house too long because of highest and best. The
Okay.
good houses
I
are going
mean,
fast. Let me just say that.
yeah, great. uh, and we were talking about. You mentioned 600 houses. This is March. We're talking about the end of March. We're recording this video. Um, with 600 houses. Oh my gosh. I mean, I know some of those are like at the high level and some of them are a little bit, lower, but I imagine the average I guess what's the price range usually that you're seeing out there for these houses that seem proper for military folks coming in?
So the meridian in this area is about 250, 260. I would say you can find houses that are less expensive than that, but when you're going below the 225, sometimes you can get in the 200 area, but the lower you get, the more repairs need to be done to the home, or the area might not be as pleasant as you would like it to be. So if you're looking for a nice place that doesn't need a lot of repair, You're going to want to start at 200, and more than likely it's going to be closer to 225, 250.
Okay. That's I mean, I got my house. Look, I was about to say what the price was, and I don't remember right now. It was in the mid 200s though. And just because of the activity in my neighborhood, there's been a lot of going up on that value since I moved in.
That's good.
Uh, I guess not the real question, but one big question is with the rates the way they are right now, is it actually a good time to buy?
The time is always right when it's time for you. So if the rates are a little bit higher, you can always refinance if they come down. But I do work with a lender who is very versed in, she's actually a veteran. She has been a loan officer for 27 years, and she keeps me on top of what is happening in the lending industry. And yesterday she sent me a flyer about the Palmetto Hero program. Can't remember the exact name. I think that's it. That can partner with a veteran loan, and the interest rate is 4.75. And they can still use their zero down veteran, but there's other benefits as well. And it's a really awesome program. The only problem, and not problem, but challenge, is that it is a grant. And when the money runs out, then that's not offered anymore. So if you are looking to buy relatively soon, if we get you pre approved before they run out of money, they save that money for you to use for your loan when it's time for you to purchase. And I'm not talking, you can't wait a year, but if you're actively looking, and usually she said that the money runs out sometime in June. And if you have a pre approval, the money is set aside for you. So if you closed at the end of June and the grants were gone, you could still use the loan because they set it aside for you. So it's a pretty awesome program.
Yeah. And is there, I guess my one thing, my question would be, and I think people want to know, is this program more geared towards people who like will come here and retire and be in the house longer? Is there like a timeline for anything, or is
It is
it
a first time home
also
buyers
good for
program.
somebody moving in? I'm sorry.
It's for first time home buyers.
Okay. Okay. All right. So if they go to PCS in 3 years, it's not going to be something that they have to like pay back or anything, right?
It's a grant, so no, grants do not have to be paid back. There are programs that you do have to pay back, but this is not one of them.
Okay. So, what does a lender actually look at when someone wants to buy a home? Because I mean, we all have a general idea of what it is, but try to kind of go into a little deeper into what we should know.
Okay, so the rule of thumb when you are renting is that you have to make three times the amount that your rent is. But lenders don't look at things that way. Lenders look at three things: they look at your credit score, they look at your debt to income ratio, and they look at time on the job. So you can switch jobs, but you can't have a break in your employment. Um, I was going to say, if you are self employed, that kind of changes the game a little bit too. But we're talking to our military and veterans, so they don't, that part of it doesn't necessarily apply. But those three things are what they look for. And debt to income ratio, I want to say, is really important. With veterans, with the VA loan, the VA does not look at your credit score, but the lending institution will. And so that number will be different with each lender. So the one that I've partnered with, they can do in-house underwriting, which means their score can be a little bit lower than other institutions.
how much does someone plan to um stay in a home before, I mean, how long should someone stay in a home before they plan that it before it makes sense to buy? Like how long should someone plan? I think there's people right now that's like, "Oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready."
Um, well, my first question is why? Why aren't you ready? Because if you're paying rent, you're paying somebody's mortgage. So why not begin? Buying a house is the first step to building your wealth. And if I could do anything different as an older person, it would be starting to build my wealth differently than I did. I did buy a house when I was 19 years old. That was my first step. Um, but how long should you stay in a house? So I've heard financial investors conservatively say 5 years, which I respect because they are more conservative. But I have seen 3 years. I had a buyer who bought a house 3 years ago. They decided they wanted to move out of the city and into the country. They bought another house. We listed their home, and that home needed some work, and they still made $27,000 in 3 years. So, my advice is you should, a year is too short, 2 years is pushing it, 3 years I would say would be the magic number to consider, and that would be dependent on where it is and what's going on around there, if it's building up and how long it sat on the market to begin with, like that house. So I would walk them through that part of it. But I would say rule of thumb, in my opinion, would be 3 years. And if you are, and that is if you're going to sell it. If you're going to rent it out, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the planning's out the way. We know how long how long is the minimum. I guess since everybody's stuck planning, what's the biggest mistakes buyers are making at the present moment? Like, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing people want to come in, excuse me, want to come in and lowball an offer. So let's say a house is sat on the market for a little while, and it's very common in the wintertime that a house will sit longer than it will in the spring. And first time home buyers and even others will think, well, because it's sat on the market for so long, I can come in and offer $30,000 less, and they might take it. And that is not the case. You really want to talk with your agent and come up with an offer that will be considered. And if you want to come in a little bit low, that's one thing, but you have to take the whole picture into consideration. So oftentimes a first time home buyer is going to ask for seller credits towards their closing costs. So you can't expect a seller to pay $8,000 in closing costs and come down $20,000 on their house, or even 10,000. Like I always say, put yourself in the seller's shoes. Would you accept that offer?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So,
And some people care and some people don't. I guess kind of just comes down to your personality and all. But I completely understand what there is a bargaining, and then there's what's fair at some
yes.
point. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's a good way. Like, what would you want somebody to do to you if this was you on the other end? That's a great way of reframing it for somebody. Is there anything else on that, or
I think it's important to consider, like, first of all, talk to your real estate agent who does this every day and knows the market and knows the numbers, and don't take advice from people that are outside of the real estate industry. You've hired your agent to guide you. So pay attention to what they have to say in the advice, because the other thing is when we get ready to write an offer, we are looking at the numbers and making sure that what that house is listed for is really what it's worth. and then you figure out a solid offer. So there's a lot of numbers and research that goes into it. It's not just, oh, you should offer this amount because, really pay attention to the person that you hired to guide you through the process.
Okay. And we're here with this whole thing is for the purpose of PCSing with the plans to buy. Now, if you're not a buyer and you came across this is good education for you. It's a source of information, and that's always good. But I want to say, with the PCS process, how early should someone start? And it doesn't necessarily have to be based on the PCS timeline. How early should someone start looking to start the home buying process, like get it going?
So generally, the rule of thumb is 60 days. So the first thing that we do is have a conversation. I connect them with a lender, they get pre approved. Then we do a consultation. I call it the path to homeownership, where I explain the entire process from home search to closing table. The money that they're going to need besides their money at the end, their cash to close. There are things that you have to pay for through the process. Generally, I mean, I've done it where a home buyer writes an offer in less than 5 days because they were on a really tight timeline. But you still need, depending on the lender, 30 days, sometimes 45 days to actually close. If you are PCSing here, that closing date gets written into the contract. So if we start at the right time, we can write what date we want to close so that it works for when you're actually here.
Okay. Okay. Because everybody has I mean, there's so many different variations of PCS moves. The one I experienced myself that I can speak on is the PCS from Japan to Fort Jackson, which um was generally the motivation that I needed for this here, what we're doing right now. The way that went. The army's a small family of people that are all over the place, so that you never know when you have somebody from your first unit that just so happens to be where you are, and you're having a hard time and ready to stand in and help. Um, but with people moving, eh, I'm telling you, Lynn, like there are some times where people they've had orders to go to a certain place for months, and then they're on the PCS process, and this is very few and far in between. It's kind of specific to like who what they do. Um, but their orders just change out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and then they have to go somewhere else. So I'm sure that whatever needs to be worked out for that would be, but when somebody's coming here, like once they land and they can start going around, what do you think that? How long do you think that home search timeline? What does that look like?
Um, if the expectations are realistic, generally a buyer will look at between 10 and 15 houses before they pick one. Some people are quicker than that. And I've had a couple that were a little bit longer, but the little bit longer ones were the people that had a really low budget, and it was difficult to find a home that would pass a VA loan. So typically, like I said, maximum 15 homes. And I like to do things in a timely manner so we're not wasting anybody's time. And so I will schedule 4, 5, or 6 houses in one day and get out and get as many done as we can. And then, so one thing I always say is when you walk into your home, you are going to feel it in your spirit. You're going to start looking around. It might even take your breath away when you walk into the home. And I've heard people gasp like it's the right house. And you see yourself in your home, and you see, if you have children, you see where you're going to what room they're going to be in and where your furniture is going to go, and you see yourself moving in, that's the right house. That is,
Yeah.
without a doubt. So, and if we did see, let's say, 6 or 8 houses in a weekend or 10 houses, we can always go back to see for a second showing.
Okay. I know my wife, when she walked into the house we're in right now, one thing she just came out of the blue. I'm like, oh my gosh, the Christmas tree could go right here.
Yeah, I'm talking
So
about.
I think that that's exactly what you're talking about, where people can envision their stuff. And we I think we probably looked at about 6 houses at the time. And we weren't really stuck to be getting a new build. I know a lot of people want to get a new build, or um I personally thought it was better to get into a house that somebody had already been in that was kind of new. Like my house was built in 2018. So when I heard that it was built in 2018, I was like, okay, I'm not moving into the brand new house, but I'm moving in. The first owner is selling this house.
Yeah,
So they're moving on to something different. So I'm kind of I'm getting a lot more value than I would be if I was getting a home that had been built in, like, let's say 2000, or earlier than that. So that's good. Is there anything else that you want to put in this video? Because I mean, we'll be doing more. So
maybe
no.
I would like to
Okay.
share one really quick thing is, as I mentioned earlier, I was 19 when I bought my first house. And I think a lot of people want to buy a house, think they won't qualify. And I would encourage you that if owning a home is something you want to do, let's have a conversation. Because when I was 19, how it happened was I worked in a department store. A real estate agent came in. I saw her badge. I asked her if she could help my husband and I find a home to rent. And her question to me was, sure, I can, but what makes you think you can't buy? And, or would you be interested in buying? And I said, I'm only 19. And she said, that doesn't matter. You're of legal age. If you have the income, you have the job history, we can make it happen. 30 days later, we were writing closing on a house.
Yeah,
Don't
I
let
didn't think.
Have a conversation with a professional before you make the decision that you can't qualify.
Yeah. And then there is times when you're not in the right position.
Yes.
And there's some things that you can do to get yourself more prepared later on down the road. So I would never want anybody to be what they call house poor at the end of the day.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than having something that you're happy about, but every month you kind of are struggling because the mortgage and the rest of the bills that go along with life are just too much based on your income. So
Yep.
that's good. I do want to just put at the end of this video, when you're searching here in the Midlands, specifically around Fort Jackson, if you're a drill sergeant and you don't end up living on Fort Jackson, which is a contingency that is set up for you to live on Fort Jackson, and the only reason that is because you have early mornings and really late nights. And there are places to live that's really close to Fort Jackson. But what I've noticed when I was working in the housing office, a lot of people were so, like, mesmerized about the idea of living in Lexington. Lexington is nice. There's no doubt about that. But you're going to be driving really far, whether you just woke up or whether you're leaving work to go home. And the last thing you want to do is put yourself in an unsafe situation where you're like, no, this is the house we want. I know I want to live over here. No, if you're getting out of the military after this assignment, maybe you can adjust and get up really early and make sure that you get home as as safe and fast as you possibly can every day. But for the most part, I just want you guys to look in other areas. There's Forest Acres. There's Northeast. Me and Lynn both live in the Northeast part of Columbia. There's plenty of places with houses around Fort Jackson, if that's where you are. Now, Shaw Air Force Base is Sumter. Like, that's kind of the area. I know there's some sub areas, but you're basically there. But I was really talking to my drill sergeants coming to Fort Jackson that be realistic about that commute, because on the days when you're really, really tired, that's gonna be one, it's gonna be painful and it's gonna be dangerous. You never want to put
It's a
yourself in
lot
that
of
position.
traffic from this side to that side,
Absolutely.
and a
Yes.
crazy, crazy. I have a service member PCSing here from DC, and we'll be looking at houses next weekend. He is going to be based at Shaw, and he's looking in Camden, and that's a great community for Shaw.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a I was saying this to you one day, and I might be wrong about this, but it feels like a midway point for a commute. Like,
Yeah,
Camden will be here, and you go this way to go to Fort Jackson, but you go that way to go to Shaw. So it is a good area, and you and I both love Camden. I know
yep.
that for sure. It's not right around the corner for me, but it is definitely a place that I frequent because it's a slower version of a little town, and but there's a ton of stuff to do there. So we'll go into all of the areas. I think we should do like an episode for every city or every location we have on that page, and just kind of go on about like what's there and let people know what they can expect if they do live in that area. But without any further ado, I think this is a wrap on this one. I think they know more about the buying in this area right now. I don't have anything else. If you're good, we can sign out.
I think I'm good.
All right. So if you enjoyed this video, go check out the rest of our videos on the YouTube channel. We're also active on Facebook. Just because it's a more community-based platform, there you'll see some things every once in a while on some other platforms, but YouTube and Facebook, look for Midlands Military Home Hub. And of course, the website is midlandsmilitaryhomehub.com, where you can find all of the resources that we're putting together for you guys. And for the love of everything, we need you to share this to everybody that's possibly going to be coming to the Midlands. And even as a resource to anybody who is wanting to know more about, like what we talked about today, home ownership. Um, I'm here with Lynne Fiscelli. I'm Shaka Weber, and we'll see you guys next time on another video. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for watching.